If there's one thing horror loves to do, it's taking places we're already freaked out by, like prisons and asylums, and cranking the fear factor up to 11. These spots are already creepy on their own, with their claustrophobic vibes, dark history, and that unsettling feeling like someone's always watching. From haunted lockups, crawling with ghosts, to asylums hiding twisted secrets, every movie on this list will leave you checking over your shoulder. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The Platform, originally titled El Hoyo, isn't just a movie but an experience that forces you to confront the darkest parts of human nature. Brilliantly directed by Galder Gaztelu Urrutia, this Spanish sci-fi horror flick is set in a nightmarish vertical prison. Imagine waking up in a concrete cell with nothing but a weird stranger with a samurai plus knife as your cellmate. That's the story of Gonjiam, our protagonist, who is in the hole, a prison with hundreds of levels stacked vertically. Every day, a platform loaded with gourmet food starts at the top level, stopping briefly at each floor. Those above gorge themselves, leaving scraps, or sometimes even piss and feces for those below. Every month, inmates are reassigned to a new level, and survival depends on whether you're near the top or the bottom. While many inmates bring knives or tools, Gonjiam, an idealistic man, foolishly chooses a copy of Don Quixote. At first, he tries to play by the rules, urging others to eat responsibly. But as months go by, he's forced to adapt to the brutal reality of the hole. Interestingly, to portray Gonjiam's physical decline realistically, actor Ivan Montague lost a staggering 26 pounds during the sequential 6-week shoot. The film challenges viewers with uncomfortable questions. If you were at the top, would you eat responsibly? Knowing you could be at the bottom next month? The film's ending is open to interpretation, but I'll give you a hint. Watch this movie only if you have a strong stomach for cannibalism, gore, violence, and a curious mind. Alien 3. Ripley, the resilient heroine of the franchise, crash lands on Fiorina, Fury 161, a desolate wasteland of a planet that houses a maximum security prison for violent male offenders. The prisoners, reformed under a strict monastic lifestyle led by Dylan, find their faith tested when Ripley arrives. But Ripley's isn't the only thing that's come to Fury 161. An alien has survived the crash as well, and it quickly begins hunting down the unarmed inmates. This time, the xenomorph is raw, primal, and terrifying, stalking its victims through narrow corridors and vents, making you feel the prison's suffocating vibe. Without weapons or hope of escape, Ripley leads the prisoners in a desperate stand against the creature. Now, here's the kicker. Ripley soon discovers that she's carrying a queen alien embryo in her body, making her both a target and a ticking time bomb. Did you know that actress Sigourney Weaver famously shaved her head for the role? Not just as a nod to the prison's hygiene protocols, but as a way to visually strip Ripley down to her rawest form. Coming to the climax, unlike the previous films of the franchise, Alien 3 doesn't offer the often desired victory. So, the question arises, will Ripley succeed in her attempt to save others? To find out, you'll have to watch the movie. Directed by Rennie Harlan, Prison is a hidden gem of 80s horror that fuses crime drama with the spine-chilling terror of a ghost story. The movie is set in the claustrophobic confines of a maximum security prison. What's even more interesting is that it was actually shot in the Wyoming State Penitentiary, a decommissioned prison at the time, which added a surefire authenticity to the movie. When Creedmoor Prison reopens after being shut for decades, inside the building's decaying walls, a dark secret lingers, and it doesn't take long before strange things begin to happen. The ghost of an executed inmate, Charlie Forsyth, has returned, and he's now seeking revenge against the man responsible for his wrongful death. And lucky for Forsyth, because the same man named Eaton Sharp is now the prison's ruthless warden. The prisoners and guards are trapped in the crossfire as Forsyth's wrath manifests in the most delicious way. The movie has everything from creaking walls to prisoners meeting gruesome deaths. Now, inmates like Burke must not only survive the daily brutality of prison life, but also the escalating supernatural terror that leaves no one safe. And yes, even though supernatural horror is overwhelming, but it's the underlying commentary on corruption and systemic brutality that makes this movie so compelling to watch. The climax is a must-watch showdown between Forsyth's vengeful spirit and the corrupt warden, with the prison itself becoming a literal hell on earth. The lines between justice and vengeance blur as the film slingshots toward a must-watch apocalyptic finale. Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. The movie starts when a group of amateur ghost hunters who run a YouTube channel decide to live stream their explorations of haunted locations. They arrive at Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital, and their plan is to investigate the unexplained horrors tied to the mysterious closure of the asylum, particularly focusing on the ominous Room 402, which no one yet has ever dared to enter. What began as a fun viral stunt turns into a waking nightmare as each member of the team starts experiencing unexplainable phenomena. The crew begins hearing eerie whispers and witnessing shadowy figures and horrifying visions. The hospital comes alive, feeding on their fears and breaking their spirits one by one. The film excels at pacing, starting with moments that draw you in with a false sense of security before revealing its terror in carefully measured doses. Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum stands out in the crowded world of found footage horror because of its ability to immerse viewers so deeply in its setting. Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital, a real abandoned asylum in South Korea, is often called one of the world's most haunted places. So, while filming couldn't take place there for safety reasons, the recreated asylum steals the spotlight, with every eerie corner and darkened hallway drawing you in, yet making you want to look away. By the time the film reaches its climax, the group's descent into madness is unavoidable. The asylum's secrets are never fully explained, but the ending is still chilling to the bone.
Hadi. Bir daha dokunursan seni gebertirim.
Hunting of Cell Block 11 starts when a team of ghost hunters from the reality TV show Ghost Sightings is on the hunt for their next big break. They choose an abandoned penitentiary rumored to be haunted by the restless spirits of inmates who lived and died in brutal conditions. Confident in their equipment and experience, the fun begins as the team jokes around, sets up their gear, and even stages a few scares to amp up the drama for the show. But as the night goes on, strange things begin happening that, of course, no one can explain. You might be interested to know that director Andrew P. Jones drew inspiration from actual paranormal investigation, grounding the film in the techniques and tools used by real-life ghost hunters. Things escalate when they try provoking the spirits to get better footage. A very bad idea, if you ask me. Unavoidably, they soon realize they've bitten off more than they can chew when doors slam shut, separating them from each other, and their playful banter turns into panic shouting. Shadows that shouldn't exist start moving, and they begin hearing voices, taunting, angry voices that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. This layered storytelling gives the movie emotional depth, making the horror feel personal and immediate. As fear sets in, they try to leave, but the prison isn't letting them go. By the time the team understands the full extent of its dark history, it's too late. Last shift. The movie starts when rookie cop Jessica Lawrence, first night on duty, turns into a waking nightmare. She is tasked with guarding a soon-to-be shuttered police precinct, so she obviously expects a quiet shift. But from the moment she steps inside, something feels deeply wrong. Lights flicker, distant noises echo through empty halls, and a disconnected phone line rings with chilling calls from a distressed woman. Talk about a mellow first day, right? The hauntings escalate into full-blown terror as Jessica is drawn deeper into the precinct's twisted past. Jessica discovers the precinct's grim past, haunted by a cult that performs sadistic rituals before their deaths. As the night drags on, she is relentlessly tormented by the cult's vengeful spirits. The ghosts exploit her fears, trapping her in a maze of horrifying visions and violent memories. What makes Last Shift so effective is its ability to trap you inside its protagonist's mind. The film doesn't just scare, it makes you feel Jessica's isolation, her growing paranoia, and her helplessness against forces she can't understand or fight. By the end of the night, Jessica's fight for survival becomes a losing battle against the cult's unholy power, leading to a devastating conclusion that rightly cements the precinct's reputation as a place of evil. The film was shot on a tight budget, but its clever use of a single location and practical effects proves that good horror doesn't need lavish production values to be effective. Q. Imagine waking up in a room with no windows, no way out, and no idea how you got there. That's the grim reality for a group of strangers who find themselves inside a seemingly infinite maze of identical cube-shaped rooms. Each room is connected to others, but the group soon realizes the deadly twist of some rooms being booby-trapped with lethal devices designed to kill anyone who steps in unprepared. The group smartly realizes that they must work together to escape and must pool their skills and knowledge. Quentin, a police officer, takes charge, while Worth, a cynical architect, provides insight into the cube structure. Levin, a gifted mathematician, deciphers the numbers inscribed on each doorway, hinting at whether a room is safe or deadly. But the real horror of Cube isn't just the traps, it's the group dynamics. Paranoia and mistrust seep into every interaction as the characters' survival instincts clash with their moral compasses. The film masterfully reveals group secrets, leading to alliances crumbling, and the group's descent into chaos becomes as dangerous as the cube itself. The film's haunting conclusion might just leave you questioning not just the nature of the cube, youth, but of humanity itself. The most brilliant fact about this movie is that despite its labyrinth-like setting, it was shot on a single cube-shaped set. Clever lighting and color changing made each room feel unique, proving that creativity can overcome budgetary constraints. The Experiment, directed by Oliver Hirschbiegel and loosely based on the infamous Stanford Prison Experiment, The Experiment is a harrowing exploration of how quickly humanity unravels when power dynamics take center stage. A group of 20 men answers a newspaper ad, offering a handsome payout for participating in a 2-week psychological study. They're split into 2 groups. One group consists of prisoners and another of guards, with roles assigned randomly. They enter a simulated prison designed to study the effects of power and submission. But what begins as a controlled environment for observation quickly devolves into an all-out war for dominance. The guards, intoxicated by their newfound authority, begin enforcing their rules with escalating cruelty. Like some real-life prisons, prisoners are humiliated, beat, and pushed to their limits, and their protests are ignored by the supposed scientists overseeing the experiment. Among the prisoners is Tarek, a journalist who initially enters the study out of curiosity but becomes the moral center of the group as he begins to challenge the guards' abuses. Opposite him is Barris, a guard who embodies how power corrupts him to turn from a mild-mannered participant into a sadistic enforcer. As the days stretch on, there's no difference left between reality and simulation blur. Soon, the experiment spirals out of control, resulting in violence and a bloodbath of a rebellion that exposes the darkest parts of human nature. By the end, you're left wondering if you had all that power, would you rise above it or let fear take over? Comment below your answer. A Cure for Wellness. A Cure for Wellness perfectly nails the essence of asylum horror, where patients are losing control, being pushed to the edge mentally, and realizing the people running the place are way scarier than the ones locked up. Lockhart, our handsome protagonist, is a young and ambitious executive, and he has been sent to retrieve his company's CEO from a mysterious wellness center located in the Swiss Alps. At first glance, the spa is nothing more than your everyday place of relaxation, but as Lockhart digs deeper, he uncovers a sinister secret hidden behind the facility's everyday facade. The spa's director, Dr. Vollmer, promises a cure for all ailments like some modern-day medical god, but his methods grow increasingly bizarre. Sinister instances like patients drinking purified water, submitting to invasive treatments, and speaking in hushed tones about their inability or unwillingness to leave begin to surface. To make matters worse, Lockhart's own health begins to deteriorate as he starts experiencing hallucinations and strange physical symptoms. But before it's too late, Lockhart discovers the spa's horrifying secret. The water isn't healing anyone. It's actually poisoning them. The movie hits its wild final stretch when Lockhart goes head-to-head with Vollmer in a showdown where sanity and madness start to feel like one of the same thing. The film draws heavily from Gothic classics like Dracula and The Phantom of the Opera, and fascinatingly enough, many of the treatments depicted in the film, from the eels in the water to the invasive medical procedure, were inspired by real historical practices. Beyond Re-Animator, directed by Brian Yuzna, is the 3rd installment in the cult favorite Re-Animator series, and it dives headfirst into the madness, humor, and grotesque spectacle that fans expect from the franchise. Jeffrey Combs reprises his role as Herbert West, bringing the same wit, intensity, and charm that made the character iconic in the horror genre. The story picks up years after Bride of Re-Animator, with Dr. Herbert West locked up in a maximum security prison for his twisted experiments. But these walls can't contain West's obsession with pushing the limits of life and death. Armed with a new discovery of something he calls nanoplasmic energy, West tweaks his reanimation formula. When an eager young doctor, Howard Phillips, joins the staff, he becomes West's unlikely partner in crime. It starts small, with experiments on rats, but things quickly escalate. Soon, West's work gets more ambitious and, dare I say, more horrifying. Soon, corpses are coming back to life, but not the way anyone would hope. The reanimated inmates wreak havoc, turning the prison into a grotesque bloodbath of body horror and dark comedy. The chaos leads to a gloriously insane finale, where West's experiments spiral out of control, leaving both the living and the undead trapped in a brutal, gore-soaked fight for survival. This movie is definitely a wild, unrelenting mix of madness and destruction that only West could create. The Task, directed by Alex Orwell, takes the whole reality TV craze and cranks it into a full-blown nightmare. 6 eager contestants signed up for The Task, a reality show with a simple premise: survive the night in a haunted prison and walk away with a life-changing cash prize. Easy, right? Well, not quite. As the contestants are separated and given sinister tasks, things quickly spiral out of control. Staged frights turn terrifyingly real when doors slam shut on their own and shadows move where no one should be. Meanwhile, the production crew watches from their monitors, smug and distant, until their equipment malfunctions and their scripted scares are overshadowed by something far worse. Contestants vanish, finish. A blood-soaked chamber reveals the prison's horrific history, and one unlucky player comes face to face with a vengeful spirit. By the time everyone realizes this isn't just a show, it's far too late. The prison's long-dormant horrors have awakened, and no one, be it contestants or crew, is safe. The final moments pack a chilling twist, leaving you wondering if the contestants ever had a chance to escape, or if they were doomed from the start. It's interesting to note that to capture genuine fear, some moments of the movie were filmed without the actors knowing exactly what would happen next. Their reactions add a layer of realism to the terror. The Task critiques the reality TV phenomenon, highlighting the lengths producers will go to for ratings and how easily the line between entertainment and exploitation can be crossed. Shocker, directed by Wes Craven, is one of those movies that throws everything at the wall and somehow makes it stick. It's part slasher, part supernatural horror, with a dash of dark comedy, all wrapped in a high-voltage mix that's as wild as it sounds. The story kicks off with Horace Pinker, a twisted, sadistic serial killer who's finally caught and sentenced to death row after a bloody reign of terror. The guy responsible for taking him down is Jonathan Parker, a college football player who, for reasons he can't explain, shares a weird psychic connection with the murderer. But Pinker isn't the type to go out quietly. On the night of his execution, instead of frying in the electric chair, Pinker makes a deal with some dark, supernatural forces. As a result, he comes back as something way more dangerous, a vengeful spirit who can travel through electrical currents, TVs, power lines, or even radios. No screen or outlet is safe from his deadly reach. Jonathan, now the unlikely hero, is thrown into a battle he didn't sign up for. He's not just fighting Pinker's ghostly form, but also the chaos he unleashes by hijacking the digital world. What makes Shocker stand out? Mitch Pileggi as Horace Pinker. He's creepy, chaotic, and somehow hilarious all at once. Marvelous verdict. The movies on this list aren't just about cheap jump scares. They dig into the real fear of being trapped by walls, your own mind, or something way darker. So yeah, if someone ever dares you to check out an abandoned asylum or prison, maybe think twice. Because in these films, nobody ever walks away the same. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already.